Good morning, YouTube. This is Dr. Mama Chanda, and I would like to speak with you today, as promised, about depression. Now, if you would indulge me for a minute, I want you to imagine a pretty young woman wearing a baggy shirt and a pair of jeans, her hair up in a ponytail, with a big smile on her face, but there's sadness in her eyes. When she's talking, you wouldn't know that she's depressed because she sounds happy and she has a way of making everyone around her feel loved. That person, a couple of years ago, was me. Functionally depressed. What is functional depression? Whether called subclinical depression, or the DSM-5 code word is dysthymia. But what it is when you're having a hard time getting your energy up, when you're feeling depressed and just can't really get the energy to keep doing the things that you need to be doing, when you can't seem to put your best interest to do things that are in your best interest. Do you know what I mean? So at that point in my life, I decided to see a therapist. Even though I am a therapist, it's always a good idea to do that when you need one. And I remember her trying to talk to me and saying to me, so tell me, how do you feel about X, Y, and Z? And I would say to her, well, I think that A, B, and C. And she would look at me and she said, Chanda, what do you feel about that? And I said to her, well, this is what I think. And she said, dear, thinking is not feeling. And as much as I tried, I couldn't figure out how to talk from my feelings. I turned to a friend of mine who was an energy healer, and I was speaking to him about it, and he said that he wanted me to try this exercise. And you can try it with me if you want while I'm talking about it. He said to me, I want you to imagine that you're in your head. And I want you to imagine that there's an elevator that's going down and down and down, and it's opening up at your heart. And he says the elevator opens and you take a step out. What do you see? Well, what I saw was very sad and scary to me. I saw a whole bunch of cobwebs. And it was dark and really, really scary. And I didn't even want to stay there. And so I jumped back in the elevator and went back upstairs to my head. It was really interesting because what that was showing me is that I was so not in tune with my heart that I couldn't even stand to be in a place where my heart resided for very long. It was cold and dark, and no one was allowed there. No one, even me. I wasn't even allowing myself to access my heart. Which again is strange, because if you knew me, I was still the person with the big smile on my face and acting really loving towards everybody around me. But as I've come to realize since then, I really wasn't loving people completely because I wasn't loving myself. Well, my therapist looked at me and she said to me, Chanda, I have an exercise for you. I want you to go home and I want you to look in the mirror. And I want you to say, Chanda, I love you. And I said, how hard could that be? So I looked in the mirror and I said, Chanda, I love you. And I started crying because I felt like a fraud. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel like I was telling the truth. I felt like I was lying. Well, I didn't give up. I kept trying and I kept doing it over and over and over and over again until it actually started feeling real. And I'm here to tell you that years later, and that was several years ago, I definitely don't have that sadness in my eyes anymore. And I really do love myself. Not in a cocky way, just in a, I understand my value in this world. And that's another topic for another day. What came next, though, after I realized that I was depressed and I moved out of that depression, was what I like to call the habit of depression. That was a little bit harder to break. And we'll talk about that next time. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you enjoyed everything that I said today. And if you did, please subscribe below. And I look forward to speaking with you next time. Bye.